Good evening, Sunday night rant from my living room. Hi guys and girls, it's Tom Panos and it's that time of the week. So what I'm going to do is just wait for this audience to build up and we're going to begin this week's Sunday night rant. 5 things my parents fucked up on and 5 things they absolutely nailed. Plus, we're going to touch on why bad things happen to good people. Example, Las Vegas last weekend. Alrighty, hi Bryce and hi to everyone that has said hello so far. I'm just going to wait for this audience to build up. Hello Michael, I missed a few people as they came on. Just take that as a hi. Hi Karina, how are you? Now, if you haven't done it already, I'd love you to press that share button that appears on your screen. Good day, Nick Riggers, how you going? I'm all fired up, absolutely. Hi Viola, good to see you again. So press that share button. It's going to be a great rant. Hi Rachel, how you going? From Agra in Brisbane. Fantastic. Alrighty, so Jay, good to see you again. Good to see you again. Hello Jim Nicolopoulos, great sale yesterday. So, gang, hello Johnny Manis, Yasu. Alrighty. Hey David, good to see you. David Smith. Alrighty. And from the UK, good morning Luke. Watching your son's football match at the same time. Georgie Soros from McGrath at Concord. Hey Georgie, great win by Sydney FC. Hey James from Star Partners in the Newcastle area. Hello Katrina, how you going? Alrighty, so gang, I'm going to move on and I'm going to talk today. I'm going to first on talk about 5 things my parents got wrong. And at the time I didn't realize, but I look back now and I'm just giving them a bit of a scorecard. And in many ways I'm scorecarding myself because I'm a parent myself. So 5 things my parents got wrong. I'm going to start off with is one thing that they got wrong is, and I think that this is maybe a European or a Greek thing. They had a belief structure that they cared what other people thought. And one of the common phrases are, but what will people think? What will people think? And as I said to you, that might be something of a cultural thing where you actually are, in many ways, your behavior is modified, altered, and done in a way, hi Pete, how you going? Done in a way that actually ensures that it doesn't piss other people off or that it gets the approval of other people or you are to be perceived in a certain way by other people. And like simple things, like I remember coming home one morning, like it wasn't one, it was plenty of mornings where I went through, for about 3-4 years or maybe 3 years, I went through a party, let's call it just 3 years where I got into a group of people and we would go out on Saturday nights and I would come home very, very early in the morning hours of Sunday morning. And there were, times my mother would say, what will the neighbors think? What will the neighbors think? That was her bigger concern to the fact that why the fuck was I up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday morning? So I've learned that for me, what other people think, and you know my approach on that. You've probably sat on a rant before, you know me, and Nick Carr knows the feeling. Hey Adrian, how you going? And hey Jay, what other people think. Don't ever put your happiness in the pockets of other people, right? So they, I remember at times they'd say, oh, you've got a girlfriend at such a young age. What are people going to think? It was this over exaggerated need to actually fit in to their own community. Let's call it the Greek community, and that their son behaved in a certain way. So I think that they were wrong there. Number 2. They made me think to myself that the higher school certificate, which in Sydney or New South Wales is your final year at school, is they made it look like it was do or die. That if you got that wrong, you're pretty fucked in your life. And I look back now and I can tell you that that is not correct. That what you do the year after year 12 at high school will not have a major impact in what you'll do for the rest of your life. That in fact, that you may have multiple careers over the next 30, 40 years of your life, that you will chop and change and that you'll do different things and that circumstances will find you doing something that you enjoy doing and that you're good at it. And then the next thing you know is that you actually edit what you're good at, that someone else has taught you because you learned off someone that was a mentor and you took their stuff and you actually even made it better, and before you know it, you're smashing it, and you might actually even buy the business that you're working in. And this has nothing to do with actually what you did the year after high school. So I think that there's this unnecessary pressure that's put on where people think that their permanent life is dependent by a temporary exam. The third thing that they got wrong is that they gave me an idea and told me to study things that would pay well, not things that I liked. And this is like putting, this is like taking a fish that needs to be in water and putting it into land. This is like putting a straitjacket on someone. And I think that this is something that parents have got a little bit smarter in the last 10, 15 years, where they realize what you need to do is to work your strengths and to find your kids and allow them to express themselves creatively and to spend their time and energy on the things that they're good at and like. Because it's crazy to be forcing someone to become an engineer because the father has got an idea that they wanted to be an engineer and that they've heard that it pays really good money, so they make you want to be an engineer. So that makes absolute rubbish sense. That is, in fact, you shouldn't study things that pay well. You should actually study things that you like doing, because if you become a pro at it, you'll get paid really well at that. The next thing is they brought me up saying, don't borrow too much. They hated debt. And I've got to say that to me that is a wrong lesson for parents to give. You should, as someone that begins to understand financial literacy, you must understand that you must actually learn that debt is critical for you to actually build your net wealth and actually help you achieve financial freedom. Hello, Father Stavros as well. Sorry, and by the way, I want to apologize there. I know there might be to Nick and to Father Stavros. I want to apologize for not being present on Friday on that great night you had at Dalton House. I was in Queensland and I had to actually end up going to a hospital because I had severe stomach pains, and I'm actually getting tests tomorrow. So that was the reason why, and David Porcelotto was able to fit in. So, and I heard it was a great, successful night. Let me continue on this thing about, like debt. Like for me, you just got to understand basic mathematics. Like if you can borrow money at 5% and you're investing in property, say, that's going to give you an average yield of 10% a year if you're picking the right marketplaces. You don't need to be an absolute rocket mathematician to know that you will actually make more money being in the market than being out of the market. And there is this issue that what you actually have, where people have got this aversion to debt, that they're scared of debt, that actually stops them from actually growing their net worth. And this is interesting because what it does is it means that when you've got a fear of debt, and by the way, can I just say, that not all debt is good. Like for me, investment debt, which is tax deductible, which the government basically says we will actually pay for around half of your loss per year, which is fantastic when it's called negative gearing, right? And, I love negative gearing. I obviously, benefit from it. Gang, that is something that was not brought up by my parents, and to this day, if they knew the amount of debt I've got out there, they would, absolutely freak. But what, they don't also know is the amount of growth and assets that I've had been able to invest in, and had incredible growth, very fortunate, Sydney inner west. And that would not have been able to have done without debt and using debt wisely. And the last one is that they brought me up saying, don't want too much, be happy with what you've got. And I believe that they're half right, but not 100% right. That I believe that it should probably be grateful for what you've got while you keep hustling for what you want. And I think that there is nothing wrong with being happy with what you've got and being grateful for it, and acknowledging every day that the things that you've got others might be taking for granted. But that doesn't mean that if God has given you some strengths and the ability to actually do more with your life, to add more value, that you shouldn't. In fact, for me, I actually feel like hustling, grinding, creating value, building businesses, increasing income is actually one of the good things I can do, not just for, Tom Panos Pty Ltd, but it's actually back to society, because I actually know that the way that I make business is I pay appropriate taxes, probably, a lot better tax rate for the community than, companies like IKEA. Don't sue me, but I keep hearing IKEA doesn't pay right, but that's only quoted in the papers, and other organisations that use, tax effective schemes in Australia not to pay appropriate taxes. But I actually think that one of the things that, people that build great businesses and empires do is that when they're paying appropriate tax, those taxes are going in there and they're going towards health services, social services, and helping people that are not as fortunate. So I don't ever feel that making money is a greedy, selfish thing. In fact, the more you make and the more taxes you pay, the more you're contributing. So let me now go over 5 things that they absolutely nailed. 5 things that they absolutely nailed. And I will say to you that things that they nailed, that they got right, is that I should believe in God, and that I should be someone that should have a moral compass based on faith. And I have to say that I'm very happy and very, grateful that they did that, because over the period of time, let me say, I did drift. And for a while, I, tampered with Buddhism and, other things. And even at various times, I actually had no faith and I didn't believe. But when you really think about it, when you don't believe, that is in fact a religion, because you actually believe in something, and that is you believe in nothing. And ultimately, in the end, I have to say that I came back to having a strong faith, not because of my parents and not because of the church, and not because for any other reason, but because I actually found that it helped my life. And I'm not going to go into detail, but I can tell you that I sleep better, I handle a lot more stress better. Having a relationship with God and having an understanding that, life is eternal, and understanding that there's a moral compass of doing things. And I just actually am grateful that at an early stage, at least I was introduced with the option. And then as I became an adult, I was able to make my own decision. So let me move on to, and by the way, Father Stavros that's listening to the Rant, him and his good friend Nick Carr. They're from Canterbury Helston Park, St. Stephanos Church at Canterbury Helston Park, which is an important place for me because both my daughters, before they went on to school, where they go to school now, they actually went. They went to the daycare centre there, both my daughters, and my daughter was going there at a time when I was going through chemotherapy. So it's a special spot in my heart. Adrian Bowes touching his cross. I love you, Adrian. You're a good man. And soon afterwards, both girls they both go to PLC at Croydon. But they spent, up to the age of 4, that's where they were, at the daycare centre there. There's a bit of a plug. Yes, let me move on to, number 2, the second thing that my parents did get right was the following, is they taught me that they'd always say, you don't know how much you mean to us, particularly my mother. And I have to say, I actually never thought in my life I would take a bullet for anyone, and then your kids come along, and the first one comes along, Madeline, and you think to yourself, you just never ever thought you'd actually feel so much love for another person. And you never ever believe that you'll ever feel any more for anyone else. And then your second daughter comes along, and it's not like the love all of a sudden is divided by 50% there and 50% there. But what actually happens is you actually just find more in you that you didn't even know that you exist. That, to me, is one of the most beautiful things about children, because the person that has kids is a different person afterwards. So let me move on to number 3. And that is, they taught me to be skeptical. And I actually think that skeptical is good, because I'm not saying listen to people, but when you're skeptical, it helps you to understand that when you listen to that person, you're listening to that person from their context. You're listening to that person from the way that they see the world. You're listening to that person from their opinion. You're listening to that person who says things in how they relate to them. And many times you're listening to a person who's an absolute fucking nutcracker anyway. Sorry, that's my phone. Guys and girls, this is a very important call I've got to take. Hang tight. I won't be a second. What happened? Yeah? Guys and girls, I'm really sorry about that, but I'm not going to go into the detail, but I have got a family issue that I'm handling at the moment, and I drop everything to attend to it. So let's move back on to being skeptical. But you have to understand, you see, so when I was... Be skeptical, and I mean this, guys and girls. Understand, never ever listen to the opinion of someone whose audio does not match their video. I mean, fucking seriously, you are not going to listen to a 130 kilo guy on him telling you on what the best diet is. You are not going to listen to someone who is going to teach you about life balance that's not married and doesn't have children, that's footloose and fancy free. You're not going to listen to someone about investment and financial advice who's a busted ass and doesn't have a fucking cent in the bank, right? You have to understand, you're not going to listen to someone that's going to teach you on how to be a top salesperson when they've never sold and the only thing they're trying to sell you is their sales course, right? You're never going to listen to someone that's going to tell you how to be a great businessman when they've never fucking run a business. And the point I'm making here is be skeptical from the people that you're getting advice from. Listen, and as I've said before, sometimes what do? Smile, agree, and just do the fuck whatever you wanted to do anyway. Number 4, they taught me don't hang around losers. Don't hang around losers. Don't have bad company. Don't have bad friends. Don't sit with the kids in the back of the bus sniffing lighter fuel. Don't hang around with the kids that are out there drinking cask wine at the school dances at 1 a.m. They taught me that, and I look back now and I think to myself, that's true. I've said it before. If you hang around with 4 dickheads, you become the 5th dickhead. The company you keep are the best coaches you'll have in your life because you actually become the average of your 4 closest friends to you. So, gang, I have to say to you, and listen to me very, very carefully, be careful who you lend your mind to, because before you know it, you'll start thinking like them. There's a great book called Virus of the Mind, Virus of the Mind. And it talks about how a virus explodes and expands and duplicates and goes from one system to another system. And that's what a computer virus does. Or even a physical virus, like when you've got, the flu, it just goes and it expands and it hits masses of people and it spreads. The virus of the mind, of course, is quite different. The virus of the mind is that whilst you can't see it, but it actually infiltrates people because it becomes your belief structure and it is highly influenced by the people that you hang around. So maybe one of the things that you've got to do at the conclusion of this rant is to draw a piece of paper and identify 5 people that you actually think to yourself you interact with that actually don't get the best out of you, and every time you finish talking to them, you actually feel like, fuck, I just feel deflated, down and tired, and I don't know, substitute them. I mean, there's 8 billion people on this planet. And the last one, number 5, they taught me this, that money's not everything. Money is not everything. And I have to tell you, I spent, the first, let's just call it 2 decades of my life, hustling and grinding 80, 90 hours a week, essentially just building financial wealth, building a career, building businesses, side hustle businesses on the side, pretty much going full out. Thinking to myself the whole time that once I got this amount of income and passive income, I'll be set. And what I've learned is this, that money in fact does not get rid of problems. It certainly helps you arrive at your problems with style, but it does not get rid of problems. The second thing is this, that money in many ways allows you to actually buy things that you don't really want. And in today's society, you purchase them because you are playing a comparison game and you want to impress people who ultimately you don't really care that much about anyway. So there's this vicious circle that happens in keeping up with the Joneses, which is all linked to the drive for money. For me, money is all about freedom, allowing you to wake up and doing what you choose to do that day. That's what money to me is all about. So on that point, when my parents said, money is not everything, as a mate of mine said once to me, Tom, money is not everything, but it's something. Guys and girls, see you next week. Share the video.